Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm James.
And we're covering week 2 of Amazing Race Australia. But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. And if you want to join the Patreon, I am watching Survivor Micronesia with David. And we're doing that over at Patreon if you are interested. James, welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much. It's good to see ya.
You too. Yeah.
And I know we were already
2.
gushing over our floral patterns tonight. It was not planned.
How are we already in sync on
off
fashion?
to a great start.
Seriously. Yes. So ready for this recap. This was a really good week of episodes. We've episodes 4, 5, and 6 that we're gonna go through here. And we're starting with in Castle Hill.
I loved Castle Hill, at least just the visuals.
Yes. I mean, seriously, all of this. Like, I feel like I'm just gonna say this all the time, but it's like, oh my God, it's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
I've never seen country like this. Like, it's beautiful.
And
then we get to the coral reef.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm. And that's why I loved the quote from Sky Blue that was like, all of the world is here in Australia. And it's so true. And we're seeing that with every episode we watch.
So true. Yes, I agree. Okay, let's start episode 4 at Castle Hill. Now they tell us about this roadblock and they say it's a face off. And I got really excited for a second that it was going to be like 2 people against each other face off. But it wasn't, but it was still exciting. You're facing off basically with the face of a mountain, the cliff side.
Those clever little clues.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. But just like the visual of it being at nighttime and seeing like at least the base part of it lit up was just stunning. It was so beautiful. And I bet during the day, like those views are insane.
Oh my gosh. Now I like scaling down a mountain. Like all of this is fine for me, but like at night does add a little extra, maybe nerves.
Maybe? Especially when you can't really see the bottom. So like, yeah, it looks like an abyss of just where does it end?
Right. Mm-hmm. You're just like dropping yourself down to, I don't know, anything.
Yep. Brings me back to Norland Bridge.
Yes, you are familiar with that. Dark nights. Our first teams here are the parents and the cowboys. They are there in the dark. We get a little soundbite that Delore is scared of heights. He did not sign up for heights.
Yeah, are we surprised?
Nope, not at all.
Oh, Delore.
Deb and Jackson are going down first. Deb is just like living for this. She's like, this is great. I'm excited, loving it.
I love her and Shane. And like, especially her, like you were saying, she just went down this with like no issues, no fear at all. Like truly incredible.
Yeah. So true about them. And then the Gold Coast girls are right behind. And she's like dancing down the mountain. Like she's good to go.
A pro. She was a pro. Like she had done this in her sleep many, many times.
It seems like that. So we are seeing some of these teams starting to come down, and then we're learning the ones that have come down are getting ready to fly to Palm Island. And there will be different flights. I get real excited, James, when there's different flights. I like to spread them out.
Causes some drama, and I like when things get spaced out a little bit because it adds a little bit layer of, oh my gosh, there's no room for error, especially if you're in the bottom of the pack.
Yes, and I feel like just as a week of episodes, they did a good job of mixing that up because we're going to come into, the get them all together. Now they're even again. We're going to have those moments, but I appreciated that it was mixed up.
Right.
Kind of going back and forth.
What did you think of having to like do those? Was it Brain and Brawn?
Yes. So did we see that pay off somewhere?
No. And that's I'm so curious to know how this will come into play.
Right.
And at what point in the race?
Right. I was kind of like, wait, did we finish the episode and didn't hear about it? Then the next episode, how long are we going to wait with this?
We love a little
Deb's reasoning I like, because she was like, well, physically I might not be able to hang with the other group, so I'm going to have to say Brain. But if you pick Brain Do they give you a physical? Are they going to go opposite of what you put? Like, you don't know what you're
Can you
really picking.
imagine? That would be some like reverse psychology.
Sure, that's how I would do it. I'd be like, take your pick. All right, you're doing the opposite.
You
Hey.
got to use your brain to move these boulders, and then you have to use your muscles to think harder. Like that's what it would be like.
That's how you do it. Make them mad. Delore does do it. He gets down that mountainside. So now this was interesting, James. The Super Sikhs, who had won a couple legs ago, got that fast pass, first class, fast pass, whatever, leg off. But the way they come back into this is they just pick a random number out of a bag, and it happens to be 10.
I wasn't really expecting that aspect of the first class pass. It made me wonder, and like Will and I got into this lengthy conversation about it. Like, what if you could just deny the first class pass? What if you're like, no, I don't want the first class pass? Because what if ultimately you got it? Like, this is just a hypothetical. Like, and the Super Sikhs ended up going home. It's like their first place from the leg prior just didn't matter.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, they were
like nullifies like your lead.
It's so dangerous. They were in the back of the pack legitimately. If they weren't such a strong team, they would have been in danger to go.
You should almost have the choice of like, do you want this day of luxury? Do you want the break? Do you want the time off? But also knowing there's a gamble. Or do you want to maintain like that first place lead and leaving first at the pit start of the next leg? I'm wondering if that was a choice.
Yeah, that's actually a great choice because you're saying, yeah, I need a day to rest and I'll just take the risk of the random draw and we'll see. But with a day off,
like, are you willing to take the temptation of this day off to have a shot at still leaving at the top of the pack?
Yeah, it's a real twist to win, get a benefit, get something out of it, and then basically be shoved to the end. Like that just doesn't feel right. That something's weird about that. But I also do like a random.
As a viewer, it was exciting. It was like, oh my gosh, like what's going to happen? Especially since they've been so consistent from the very start.
But I felt bad for them.
10. Yes, exactly.
Really did. Okay, Ronnie and Joe Bell. I mean, we know they're adorable. This little bond, this little dad and daughter are so cute. But watching Joe Bell go down this mountainside and Ronnie is like beside himself. He's so proud. He's so excited. He's like, my daughter's doing it. My daughter's doing it. We have this wonderful moment. And then in that excitement, they wander off. They leave without their lantern. Ending up having to go back, and we just see them so defeated a little bit later when they realize this.
And it's so easy to make those mistakes. Like watching that play out, I was like, yep, I get it. Like you have no idea what factors came into play, especially for Joe Bell and Ronnie, to just forget that part of the clue. And I think a lot of it has to do with maybe that excitement and that proud moment as a father and just being so excited that your daughter just kicked some butt walking down that side of the cliff. Like, you just happen to forget, like, oh, we need to bring the lanterns with us. You just assume that all you had to do was walk down the side of it.
Yeah. We start to figure out who's on which flight. We are signing up for that. So first flight, we have the parents, we have the Cowboys, and we have our Gold Coast girls. Solid top 3 team there. Our second flight is Holly and Delore, Sky Blue and Jake, Chris and Alicia, and Sepha and Jess. Third flight's Dwes and Catherine, Ronnie and Joe Bell. They make it for that. And then our last flight is the Sikhs, the dancers, and Milan and Tina.
And then that just goes back to my argument of like, so much for getting first place. And then now you're on the second flight. You're already starting off the leg at a complete disadvantage. There's no way for them to get on that first flight. No way.
No way. So true. The next day we are in Palm Island. They get this beautiful traditional welcome. They go to the story tree, and now they get to learn the Impala dance, traditional dance of that area.
I
And
love just the story tree moment and watching them kind of do what looked like what the locals do there. You know, it just seems so warm and welcoming, and I loved that moment.
it really seems like Amazing Race is doing a great job of bringing in the locals and making each leg specific to that area. I don't know if that's true, but that's that's what it feels like as a viewer. So I hope it is. It's very nice to see. These Gold Coast girls, they are first up to do the dance, then the cowboys and the parents, but the parents are able to get through it first, and then the cowboys second. I'm surprised the girls don't dance. They seem like they do everything.
I know. But some people either have rhythm or they don't. And I know, especially on the race, a lot of teams fear any type of dance challenge. It's almost kind of like driving stick. Like, going into it, you got to drive stick at some point. Going into it, you might expect to dance at some point.
Yes. Now, Holly and Delore, as usual, Delore's ready to go. They're just going to knock this out. He's a great dancer. Holly actually says he's the best dancer. So we're set up once again for them to not get it right away.
But it seems like it's Delore more so than Holly.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
100%.
Like Holly is literally racing for two people.
She is.
She is.
This week, I started thinking that she is Corey Cool and he is Tyler Oakley, except Tyler was not this bad at all.
No, yes, I see your point. Like Corey probably had more of that mindset and that preparedness ready to go into it. Yeah.
Corey pulled the team, but don't get me wrong, Tyler is not a Delore. I do not want that.
No, far from that.
The Gold Coast girls do get it on their second attempt, and now we start to see teams moving on to the detour, which is make a pizza or this radio script. And now I know it always makes you nervous when it says you're going to wait 15 minutes for a pizza to cook.
Yeah.
And you think like, I can't just stand there and wait.
Yeah, it's any type of time that you could lose is always unnerving. But then if you think on the opposite side of the detour, only one team could do the radio thing at a time. So both, in a way, kind of balance each other out with the wait period. But yeah. And
also there's a bit more skill. Like you actually have to memorize a script.
Right.
And get it done in a certain amount of time. Whereas a pizza, you're putting it together. Wait, deliver.
It seems more straightforward. Like, you know what a pizza is, yeah.
So we do see, different teams doing different parts of this detour. The parents make a pizza. The cowboys are over at the radio, struggling with the script at first, getting it on time. But so we do see the parents get through this, delivering the pizza while the cowboys are still being radio hosts.
I'm curious to know, why they chose that detour.
They said something like, "We don't cook," and I'm like,
it's a pizza.
It's pizza. I don't cook as well, but I can put together pieces of things on top of a pizza.
On it, sprinkle the cheese, and you're good to go.
I feel like it's the easiest thing to cook.
But I get, if it's something that you're not used to, I can see how it would be a little daunting.
Yeah, and you don't always know just by reading a clue exactly what it is, right?
Exactly. There's always something in there to be a little misleading.
So it ends up taking the Cowboys 8 attempts to get through, but they are the first team, so they don't have to always wait for somebody. So I felt like their attempts did move a little faster.
And that's one of those things. I feel like anytime you're judged, like maybe this is advice for future racers, I feel like any type of task where you're judged, it brings me back to the bottle dance. Like Will and I, when everyone was there, like practicing the bottle dance over and over, if no other team was in line, just keep going. Because if you're going to go off to the side and practice it, why not practice it while being judged? Because what if by the off chance you actually nailed it, then you already finished the challenge. So if you have that opportunity to keep going back to back, you should totally take it and practice that way.
Yeah, Okay, tips from James, y'all. Write it all down. You guys are going to be on at some point. Write it down and then give us a shout out when you're on the show.
Preach.
Okay, back at the dance, Jess has 2 left legs, she says, because Jess,
she's gold.
Television gold. All of the confessionals are just them.
Yep.
They are getting more TV time than anyone, and rightfully so. Protect them at all costs. They can't go anywhere yet.
I like that. Protect them at all costs.
We see Holly and Delore do get it. And then we find out there's a U-turn ahead.
The U-turn.
Are you triggered? Oh, dear.
I am a little triggered because I feel like anytime it's used, already anticipate being criticized by viewers.
Getting a lot of love in the chat for Jess and Stefan. Yes, agree. We can all agree. And Lola, I mean. Okay, so the Gold Coast girls, they make a pizza. Teams are passing Jess and Sepha at the dance thing, but they do eventually get it. And we see Holly and Delore at the radio. Oh my God, Delore with the I want to be a slow jam.
Took it very seriously.
And the guy's like, 25 seconds. 25 seconds.
I appreciated how committed he was to the cause. But whoa.
Look, as an actor, when I go into auditions, they say you got to make a choice. And he came in with a choice. He was like, this is my character.
Yes.
And this is how I talk on the radio. And then it was just nope, great. But you just got to pick it up a little bit. What you doing there? The parents and the cowboys are in a van together, headed to this next challenge, and they are aware that a U-turn is coming up here. Now, here's a question, James, because I didn't pick up on this when watching, but one of our patrons in the Discord brought this up. Did the first team to arrive have to use the U-turn?
Yes, after watching some tweets pop up on my feed and interacting with some of the racers, it was brought to my attention that this had to be used by the first team that got there. And I gotta say, I hate that. I really don't like that.
Why? Yes, why?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to do that. What's the gain? What's the purpose? Unless you're trying to absolutely have the U-turn be played from a producing sense, sure. But why? I don't know. I don't like that rule. I didn't like it.
It doesn't make sense to me. I have a strong rule as someone who's never played the race and just talks about it. But my rule is the first team never U-turns anybody. James, I know you have different rules. You did do the race.
We didn't know for sure we were in first place. So that was more we're just going to play it because we have the opportunity to play it. But had we known for sure we were in first, probably wouldn't have taken that hit.
It's different.
Yeah, but I feel also too, for Shane and Deb, it's almost kind of a waste to play the U-turn. I almost feel at this point, the Cowboys had more of a reason to maybe target Holly and Delore. Why did Shane and Deb take it upon themselves? I would have let the Cowboys get out of the van first, knowing that they were going to U-turn Holly and Delore and let them kind of take that enemy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know why Shane and Deb didn't just do that.
Yeah. They made a comment of of all the times to come in first. But I thought, I guess they just agreed that the first team to get to the sign would do it. But yeah, let the Cowboys go up there and do it. But either way, here's my next question is, what's the strategy to U-turn Holly and Delore, who currently are team 4?
So I don't think that there really was, but it's hard to say. Putting myself back on season 32, a lot of people didn't understand a lot of the layers that had led up to our U-turn decision of Leo and Alana. And the same goes for Shayna and Deb. Like,
Mhm.
clearly there must have been more context to why they chose Holly and Delore. Part of me thinks it's because the Cowboys, I know in that conversation in the van, kind of seemed to like give them that boost of support. Like, oh yeah, we support Holly and Delore. So
Right.
I feel like maybe having a support from another team makes it feel less daunting. But I feel as though if you already know the strong team is at the back of the pack, like already know for sure that the Super Seeks weren't on that first flight with you, why not at least take that attempt?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's hard to say. It's hard to say because a lot of people would argue against Will and I saying, why didn't you turn a strong team? Why didn't you do D'Angelo or Hung and Cheat? Blah, 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 blah. So it's hard to say.
It's very hard to say. And I wish we had gotten more information from any team on why Holly and Delore were U-turned, because it seemed like maybe that team has just rubbed the other teams the wrong way and they are the team personal. On the outs. Yeah, that's what it felt like when you just pick a random team that's kind of in the front of the pack. If you are the first team and you are being forced to U-turn someone, you think you want to U-turn someone towards the back of the pack so that you can actually get them out. U-turning someone in the front of the pack, it makes it even harder to get them out.
Right. And again, there's so many variables. You don't know what's really going on behind you. So it's just kind of it's a 50-50 shot. Like, what's going to happen with using it? The team's either going to go home or they're not going to go home. But I feel like I read somewhere too that Shayna and Deb U-turned Holly and Delore with the intention of not eliminating them.
Yeah, I mean, there was some soundbite or phrase at one point where it kind of made it sound like she wasn't expecting them to go. Like Deb said something like, we didn't want them to go. I forget how she phrased it, but I was like, wait, what? Then why are you U-turning them? You're just taking them off?
Yeah, and I mean, Will and I've said this so many times too, and I feel like when it comes to targeting another team, like the race isn't like Survivor or Big Brother. You don't have control over sending a team out. If anything, the U-turn is there for you to literally disadvantage another team with the hopes that maybe they get eliminated. So to do a team that's literally like 3 or 4 placements behind you when there's like another flight of teams that are still coming to the island, why? Well, I don't know. I just didn't get it.
I didn't either. Let's get Shane and Deb over here. We need to know more about this. This is my big question of the season.
As parents, if they weren't trying to ruffle feathers and they weren't there to play this like strong strategic game and they're just like, hey, I don't want to bother anyone. I get that too. You know, there could be more of a personal reason of why they did what they did.
And sometimes it's just personal in all caps. Okay. Or that. All right. Well, so this is what is agreed upon in the van. And so when Shane and Deb get to that U-turn first, they put Holly and Delore's picture up there. And that's about that. Then we move on and we see Milan and Tina. They're with the Seeks and the dancers last at the dance challenge over there. And now we're getting into this challenge where we're cutting grass with the tiniest of scissors.
Oh my gosh, just the idea of that sounds so ridiculous.
Right?
That's like cleaning your bathroom floor as like a punishment with a toothbrush.
Yeah. Like, it's mind-numbing. You'd be like, this is what I have to do? Yeah, that was a lot. That looked like torture, but the parents, the Cowboys, and the Gold Coast girls are there, and they're cutting away with their tiny scissors. Holly and Delore, they take 9 attempts at the radio station. And then they arrive at the U-turn board to see their photo there. So, not happy about that.
No. No. And I mean, I understand. But, But like, I mean, like, it's just so funny, the parallels between our season and the Australia season. It's crazy.
Yeah. They frustratedly have to get back in the van and go back to do the other one. But this pizza part of the detour is so easy that I'm just eye rolling at this point. And I'm like, you're just getting frustrated that you have to go back and do it. It's going to take no time at all. And you're going to be right back in the mix here. Nothing changes.
Just whip up a pizza and you're
Yeah.
golden.
Jess and Sepha, Ronnie and Joe Bell, they're struggling at the radio. We see attempt after attempt over there. The parents quickly mow that grass with their scissors. They're finishing first. Then the Cowboys right behind them, heading off. The last teams over attempting the radio are the dancers and Milan and Tina back there. Then at the grass, Holly and Delore arrive. Like I said, ain't going to take no time with the pizza. They're already here cutting their grass.
Yep. Easy breezy.
Of course, he's not going to keep his mouth shut. And then, of course, we get that in the edit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, Delore. But, like, yeah. I can't say that I, like, get what it, like, would feel like because I didn't get U-turn. I used the U-turn. So for them, I can get why it's frustrating, especially if you have zero context as to, like, why.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be confusing, but you're also just going to be annoyed. It doesn't matter what kind of team you are. If you are always annoyed or if you're a very positive team, like you're just going to be annoyed that you got U-turned.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
It's no fun. This is when we notice that Sepha and Jess might not be fans of Holly and Dolores. They're not too keen on all this smack talk that's happening.
Well, that goes back to what you were kind of saying is that the vibe is almost as if the other teams, majority of them are rubbed the wrong way by Holly and Delore. And that's probably ultimately the decision that came into play for Shane and Deb to U-turn them.
Yeah. Maybe it was like overall team morale to U-turn this one team that seems to be bothering everybody. So we get a little, back and forth here between Jess and Delore. And then we start to arrive at the pit stop. Our number one team is Brendan and Jackson, the Cowboys.
I was rooting for Shane and Deb.
Oh, yeah. Always rooting for them, honestly. Shane and Deb are so cute, but they're second. Still very good.
Very good.
They're right there. And then right behind them are Ashley and Amanda.
Yes, my girls. I love them.
Yes. Oh, my God. They do so good this week. So good. The Sikhs arrive to cut the grass. Joe Bell and Ronnie, Sky Blue and Jay, Chris and Alicia, they're finishing up. Our last two teams we're seeing in this episode are the dancers and Milan and Tina. Very frustrated, struggling through these challenges.
Yeah.
We go back to the pit stop. We've got Sepha and Jess coming in fourth, not too shabby. Fifth is Sky Blue and Jake. They actually passed Ronnie and Joe Bell. And then Joe Bell and Ronnie, they show up at the pit stop. Our dad and daughter. They are sixth. And then Chris and Alicia, our princess and the geek, they are seventh on the mat. Okay, now we've got Milan and Tina arriving with the dancers at the grass. These are our last teams. Although Holly and Delore are still cutting grass. Mostly Holly. Holly is still cutting grass.
Mostly
Literally, we get an edit of Delore just like, bugs, bugs, bugs. And I'm like, oh, the edit is just like, he probably did do a little bit, but the edit was like, we're only going to show him when he's not cutting grass.
God, he makes great television. I'll give him that.
I don't think he knows it, but yes.
Nope. But yeah.
Okay. Pit stop 8th. We've got our Sikhs. I mean, they went from 1st to 8th, basically, is what happened. Luckily, it wasn't 10th.
I was going to say they went from 10th to 8th, but
I mean, I guess.
Imagine if they had been U-turned. I would be so curious. And this is why sometimes I wish the show would show pit stop times, like the check-in times, so you can actually see like how hard the day might have been for another team or just how close teams were and if a U-turn would have made a difference. Because part of me is like, if they had been U-turned, who knows? Who knows? Maybe they would have been eliminated.
Yeah. And honestly, you're right. That's the smartest move they could have made. The number one team, the most recent number one winning team was pushed to the back of the pack. U-turn them, they would have gone. But maybe Australians are just too nice and they didn't want to actually get the Sikhs out. So Dwez and Catherine are Kimberly cousins. They have arrived around now to the pit stop, but they at one point had to catch a ride. Did they lose their taxi? I missed how this happened, but all of a sudden they were walking to their challenge and then hitched a ride. Which,
and usually in the clues, it's very specific as far as what type of transportation is allowed. So based on what we were shown, it sounds like they didn't do what the clue stated as far as transportation. And that's why they ultimately got a penalty.
Yes. Yeah, they hitched a ride and Bo tells them that was not cool. So you get 10-minute penalty and they step to the side. And again, like you never know, is this 10-minute going to be like full of people running in, or are you going to stand there for 10 minutes with no other team? You just never know. We see Holly and Delore finish the grass. Then they show us the dancers, the besties, Milan and Tina. We see them leaving just to confuse us with the edit on who's going to come here to the pit stop. But we do get Holly and Delore up there during this 10-minute penalty. So they come in 9th. Then our Kimberly cousins get to check in 10th. Now it's down to, is it the dancers or our besties who arrive at this mat? And the dancers just edge out our besties. Jordan and Valletta arrive 11th, and Milan and Tina come in 12th.
I know when it got down to those two teams, I had a hunch that it was going to be Milan and Tina, especially because we saw in episode 2, Sky Blue and the Dancing Exes from that little alliance. Mm-hmm. And it's not like they're going to give us a glimpse of that and then have them go home with no development on that narrative. So yeah, I was bummed that another all-female team went home though.
Yes, this was such a bummer because I just felt like this whole time Milan and Tina had potential. But then I guess we never really saw them able to get up in the pack. Yeah. They just were always sort of in the back and then struggled this leg. So a real bummer. I would have liked to have seen them longer.
I agree. They brought such like a joy to the race, right? Like being towards the back. They always had such a good head on their shoulders, which I really appreciated.
Yeah. And they had a great energy for just being best friends. Like they always spoke nicely to each other, so positive, and seemed like they were just very excited to be there. And I love that. It's the best. All right, episode 5. We're moving on to Magnetic Island.
Another island, another day.
Oh, another gorgeous island, yes.
Who knew Australia had so many islands? You just think it's a big chunk of land. It's a big chunk of land. It's like already its own island, you know?
I thought there was so much water in Australia that I was surprised when people were not good swimmers. Like we start to see people who are like, I'm not great in the water. And I was like, didn't all of y'all grow up on the water? But I guess not. I guess inland is areas too. We see our Gold Coast girls. They are talking about being the last team of all girls. And that's just really annoying me because we're on episode 5. That is too early for that.
Yes.
We're all grabbing cars here, and Delore is pulling a wheel with a stick shift.
Oh, yes. I mean, well, first off, I thought it was really interesting that they were saying that they were looking for an automatic.
Yeah. Is that an option?
Like, I don't think that's ever been an option on the race, because if it was, I'm sure most of teams would take that. No matter how skilled you are at driving stick shift, you would automatically go to what you're comfortable with or drive on a daily basis. So when they were like, we were looking for an automatic, I'm like, you should just assume that they're all stick shift.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. And we heard them say that in another episode. And I thought the same thing because they gave us that soundbite. We're looking for an automatic. And I was like, wait, what? And then they did it again this time. And they get this adorable, like, painted car. But, Delore is struggling, like we've already admitted. Even if you've practiced driving stick shift, it's still hard in the moment.
Yep.
our Roadblock. Now, this is interesting. I'd love to hear from the Aussies, but this is a total Big Brother endurance comp, which
Yes.
we don't really see on Amazing Race US.
It was a very untraditional Amazing Race challenge. You're right. It had a very like Big Brother Survivor element to it. And I honestly loved it. I loved that, because I feel like there's this criticism among viewers, and I totally can get it, is the equalizers. That every leg, all the teams are bunched up, and it's usually the same teams at the front, and there's not a lot of changes in placement. And I feel like a challenge like this totally shakes it up a bit, because it's anyone's race at this point. And I loved it.
I did too, especially coming off of the kind of spread out leg.
Yep.
At least it seemed like it was spread out. And then to pull them all together, it's an equalizer, but just a random skill challenge. Like, who can last the longest? And then that's your order of how you're going to do this next leg. Great idea. Love it. Do it. Amazing. So everyone's there. They're climbing up on this thing. Delore says, Holly is more resilient than me. And Jess says, any girl is more resilient than you. Oh,
I know,
Jess.
that's perpetuating the teams against Holly and Delore.
It is. It's a lot. I just wish that it wasn't any girl is more resilient than you. Like, I feel like there's a lot of you're like a girl. You're just as bad as a girl. I feel like I've heard a lot of that in this season. And I'm just like, what? Are girls that bad? I didn't. Maybe let's just say like anyone is more resilient than you. Like, I don't know. Just throw that out. That's what I would suggest. But unfortunately, Shane drops first. He is talking about his knee. He's had knee surgeries. This is very difficult for him to hold on to this challenge, this comp. And so he does drop first. We get a soundbite from Holly that she just wants to last longer than Shane. And then she drops second.
It actually bothered me, because I think Holly is stronger than maybe she gives herself credit for.
Yes.
I totally think she could have lasted much longer. But you're right. It's almost like it's like her pride got in the way of all those, like, I need to beat Shane and Shane only. And then I'm content. I'm happy with wherever I fall. Like, it almost seemed too instantaneous that she dropped.
Yeah. And I still don't understand that, because don't you want to leave as high in the ranking as you can?
Especially after being U-turn on the leg before. Yeah.
That was interesting. I don't know, maybe overconfidence of like, it doesn't matter where we leave, we're going to be fine. I don't know. It was very confusing. She just was like, oh, Shane dropped, so I'm going to drop. But the timing was perfect, because Delore's like talking smack about Shane. And then I think it was Joe Bell was like, oh, Holly just dropped. And he's like,
Yeah, the little cuts here are great. It was so good. And
editing.
It's nice. I think another thing I liked about this Roadblock, since all the teams were there, we got a little bit of the inner team dynamics, like that banter. So you kind of got, we even got more, confirmation that these teams may not be the biggest fans of Holly and Delore at this point in the race.
Yeah, which is interesting, because the banter we're seeing with literally all the other teams is they love each other so much. They're helping each other. They're laughing and joking with each other. They seem to be getting along really, really well. Okay, Sepha's next to drop, then Chris. Ashley, Brendan, and Jordan are our final three. Ashley, way to hang with the dudes. Yes. She's killing it. And then it comes down to Brendan and Jordan at a half hour, which is pretty darn great. And they're a little chit chat happening, and it seems like they're trying to convince each other to drop. And Jordan just lays it out. Like, we haven't been first on anything. I want to be first.
Yep.
And ultimately, I think Brendan was like, I don't really have it in me. And that sounds like he's got the willpower. So Brendan drops.
And to be fair, I mean, they're really, at that point when there's two people left, there really is no benefit. I mean, except to have a little bit of a lead over all the teams. But like first or second, I don't feel like it really made much of a difference. Like when you drop, that is.
Hi, Chris. Okay, inside scoop from the actual show.
Oh my
Holly
gosh.
actually
Hey,
dropped
Chris.
third.
Interesting.
Hey, Chris. That is interesting. Look, the editors are really, they got like one thing on the mind with the Holly and Delore. So
That is seriously very fascinating to know that. It makes me think, who dropped before her then? Did they just flip those two teams around? Fascinating.
right. Wait, well then was it Sepha then that would go second? Because it went Shane, Holly, Sepha is what we saw, or did we miss somewhere in there? Someone.
I will say, when hearing that, I don't know if I like that the edit changed that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just from
Yeah.
our experience, I don't ever think the placements were ever misedited on our season, but that's
right.
so weird that they did that for just like a story purposes.
Yeah, that is kind of odd. You could have just given us like Sepha real quick and then Holly. Like you still could have probably gotten the same point, cut it in with Delore talking smack. You know, you could have still done it. I don't know.
How interesting. Thanks, Chris, for that insight scoop.
We appreciate that, Chris. It's good to know. Okay, so we get our Jordan is first, Brennan's going to be second. And at this moment, that means the dancers went from last place to first place. Pretty impressive. But unfortunately, the parents are going from second place to last place.
I know. That was so devastating. Like, to go out that way, that's such a bummer.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, it becomes even more of a bummer here, James, because now we're going to wake up in these cute little camping situation. That's fun. But we're going to wake up and Shane can't even move at all, to the point that Deb's getting the medic. They cut the tent. How dramatic is this? They cut the tent. All the teams are like in shock looking, and you know, they're both bummed, but Shane is like being honest, like, I can't move. Like, this is it. Can't.
Yeah.
Can't continue on in the race.
It's just a bummer. I mean, because they were so consistent from the very beginning, but I do remember saying to Will, like very early on, that because she already had issues with her leg, I was worried that over time, like despite how strong of a team they were, I was worried that at some point her leg would definitely be a problem.
Yeah. But it turns out it was Shane's knee, and we had a bum leg and a bum knee.
Yep. And I'm knowing that, it's just like, oh my God. And they were doing such a good job. Such a good job.
Yes. Yeah. It's really nice to see that all the teams were genuinely upset. And I do think Holly and Delore, maybe Chris can tell us, but it did seem like Holly and Delore, again, it was just editing with the massage thing. Because the sound bite did sound like they actually cared, but oh my God, this show
with
is
the Theragun, with a Theragun, like a
yes. Everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so sad. And cut to massage.
I cannot.
The show is doing
probably was like
so
a
dirty.
clip because it looked like there were no teams or anyone behind it. So it looked like that was like when all the teams before them had already left. So they cut to them doing that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It didn't seem like it actually was the accurate in the moment, that was cut from something else.
Yeah.
But we're just guessing. Everyone seemed like they were very sad. And I was very sad. I was getting choked up and teary to see the parents go, because they were were they in the best shape? No. But they were doing so well. And they were so happy to be there. And yeah, just a bummer that's how that went down. They're all going to get themselves together here, and we're going to go eat 20 dry wheat bix. Okay. Well, let me just tell you guys, we don't know what the heck a wheat bix is.
Oh, they are interesting. It's kind of like cardboard. There's no flavor.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Super dry and no flavor? That's not good.
It just, the idea of eating all of that... just not appealing.
Is it like a shredded wheat? Like it looked like...
I feel like it's almost like a bunch of cereal, like crammed together to be this little bar of cereal, but no flavor.
Okay. So it's a bar of cereal, and we obviously get the point that you need milk with it. It's like a cereal that you need milk. I get you.
Yes.
So we're headed there. Some teams think no big deal, and some teams are like, eh. But the Cowboys, who are ready to eat anything, are actually like, this is hard.
The ones that struggled, I know.
Yes. The other teams are like, it's hard, but they're starting to get out of there. This is like another sugarcane pile looking for tongs where the Cowboys are just still there while everybody is passing them. Chris is vomiting. Of course, Delore's sound effects don't help.
I also loved, again, this moment, seeing all the teams at a spot together, because literally at that point, it's anybody's race, and you're just kind of like, who's going to finish it first?
Yeah.
I feel like that was a common theme with the challenges at the start of this leg. And the moment the gagging started, I was like, that would be me. I would, hearing it, seeing it, I would have been next in line.
Right. Yeah. It being in a group and you hear that, that's not gonna. Sorry if we're triggering you, Chris. So the Sikhs actually are getting out first, and so they're passing a couple people because I think they came in third. Then the Gold Coast girls are out. The dancers are finishing third. Cowboys still there. Everyone leaves, and the Cowboys are just there with Chris and Alicia. They are the last two teams just struggling through this super dry cardboard of a cereal. But we're going to move on to a roadblock where you get to breathe fire.
Heck yeah. This was so cool. I really wanted to do it.
Me too. This was so exciting. I thought it was so cool. And then when Violetta, like just the thought of it started to freak out, I was like, no, this is cool. What's wrong? Like she was not as excited as we are about it.
No. I did think it was interesting that the person who did the first, like the team member that did the first roadblock, still had the option to do this roadblock as well. Because, you know, when we were in Paris, like we had to do, like if whoever did the gallery couldn't do the circus games. So I was kind of hoping it would have been similar where like whoever did the first roadblock, they can't do this one.
But this is a different day. I mean, I guess it's technically the same leg. I don't know. Yeah, they just made that choice. Yeah.
And I'm also curious. I mean, I haven't watched enough of Amazing Race Australia to know the rules and how they differ from the US version, but maybe Chris can answer this for us. Is there like a cutoff for how many roadblocks a team member has to do before the next team member is forced to catch up?
Oh, do we have that in the US? Is that how it's phrased?
So that's why you see most teams like alternate who does the roadblock, because eventually if you got up to 5 roadblocks and your teammate had like 3, your teammate was going to be forced to do the next 2 roadblocks to catch up. Yeah.
Well, because you guys ultimately have to have the even amount, right?
Yeah. Well, because in the earlier season, sometimes it would rely on just one team member to do every roadblock.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, well, what's the point of a roadblock if it's the same team that does it over and over? So for the US version, they changed that rule, and you have to be very smart and calculated about when do you sit out of a roadblock, but also get stuck doing it because your teammate already met its quota.
Right. Yeah, I'm just assuming, like, because that's the US rule, I'm assuming that they're going to have to ultimately be, you know, do the same amount of roadblocks eventually. But so far, we've only seen them say, like, who wants to do it?
Yeah.
You, me? You know, doesn't seem like they're putting much more weight into it than that. The Gold Coast girls are super pumped to do this. They're there with the Sikhs first. And we see the demo, they're spitting water, and then Chris is giving us info. They're spitting water, they're learning. Wow, no cutoff.
Interesting.
And it doesn't have to be balanced, like one person could just do way more.
That's so interesting to me.
That's quite the benefit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's so interesting to me.
Amanda looks like she was born to breathe fire. She looks great doing this. She doesn't quite get them all the first try, but she's going to do well. And then we see Violetta's just super scared from the get-go.
Yeah. She was so in her head, which I think is
was
what hurt them.
100%. She was upset in the van before they got there, before she even knew what it was. She just, the thought of breathing fire, fuel in my mouth, she was not a fan of it. She didn't want to do it. And that's just, you're never going to succeed at something if that's the mindset you go in with.
I'm also curious though, like the clue did say like who wants to be fired up or something, right? Like it said the word fired up.
Yeah.
You'd think that if you read that, you'd be a little bit concerned that it might have to do with fire and maybe have your teammate do it.
Yeah, somebody said it might be spicy. Do you want to do it? And so they thought like
that's actually a really good point too. It could have been hot sauce or something.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
So I like
that thought process. You never really
always know.
Yeah,
Viola struggling. This was hard to watch because she just did not go into it with the right mindset at all. The Cowboys are finally finishing their Wheat Bix. Chris and Alicia still there, holding up the back of that pack right now. And then we see Amanda getting the fire on her third attempt. It was really awesome to watch her do that. She just seemed like she owned that. And then the Sikhs get it right after
Fire Queen.
Yes, Fire Queen. That was, I bet she felt like so powerful after that.
Hell yeah. Just like hearing even the noise when they would like blow it and like you just hear it. Like it just sounded so powerful. And
yes.
And I loved it.
Then it lights up and you're like, I did that. How I feel. So then we go ahead and run to the pit stop with Ashley and Amanda coming in first. Gold Coast girls getting that first place. But is this a first place you want?
No, especially when you hear it's the first class pass.
Here we go. Another first class pass. They now know they have to stand there and wait to sabotage somebody or give out the salvage. And they don't look like they want to do this at all. Don't blame them. The Sikhs come in second, and I'm sure the Sikhs are like, whoo, dodge that bullet. We'll take second all day.
But here they go again. Here they go again to the back to the top.
Yes, because they're a strong team. Mm-hmm. All right, we finally get our Princess and Geek finishing their food, and they so lovely give us information. I love when we hear that it took them roughly 30 minutes to finish it after the last team. So now we know how far behind they are. Good information to have. They get up to the fire challenge and we're back to the fire challenge. And Violetta, is my face on fire? With her like such soft voice, is my face on fire? And she's like so upset. I was like, oh my God, she just asked her if her face was on fire. Oh no. She is just
terrified of the fire.
Yeah. The Cowboys just arrive second to last, and they're like, oh, what are we doing? Breathing fire? Okay, here we go. And boom, boom, boom. First attempt. All these people who have been like going back and forth are just like, yeah.
Like, what the heck?
What now? Who to what now? Chris and Alicia in the ride over just won my heart because they are like, oh, we're so far behind. But you know what? What if everyone's just gathered and still there and we show up and we have a chance? And I was like, yes, Haley and Kaylin clones. Yes, give me those positive vibes. That's what I like to see. And guess what? They show up to it and it's exactly that. And they're like, oh, we have a chance.
Yes, and I'm not just saying this because Chris is in the chat. I really like Chris and Alicia. And the more we watch these episodes, I do feel like they're like a sleeper team that you don't really like think about in the moment while you're racing. But when you expect it, they come out of nowhere and they perform or outperform other teams. And that's a very scary team to have around because they're just going to keep lying low, and then before you know it, they're in the top. So I think Chris and Alicia are actually a team to watch. Like,
for sure,
I think they have it. I think they could go all the way.
They're definitely, no one's going to worry about them yet. They're not going to be on people's radar right now. And from what we see here, yeah, they can just kill it at any time.
Once they find their momentum, it's like game over.
The power of positivity. I love it. So before we get to Chris's amazing fire, we have the pit stop and we do see the Cowboys come in third. That was insane. Third. Just couldn't eat, and now they're third. So back at the fire, though, we do see Chris just sort of step up to bat. He, too, is a dragon. Boom, boom, boom. First attempt. Super excited. Went from last place. And now get to run out while Violetta's still spiraling. We see at the pit stop, fourth place, Chris and Alicia. The fifth place, Sky Blue and Jake show up. And then sixth place is Holly and Delore. Back at the fire, we've got our sort of last teams here struggling. Besides the dancers, we see Catherine of the Kimberly Cousins. We see Jess struggling. We see Ronnie. Jess, oh my God, at one point I thought Jess did catch her face on fire.
I thought like it looked like just the hair on the sides looked singed a little bit.
Like when she was blowing, it was just kind of like staying here. It wasn't like going out. It was like here. And I was like, I mean, she was like pushing through it and just like continue to go. Like she's a fighter. But I was truly worried about her face. And then Ronnie is struggling with it as well. The dancers at this point time out. They can no longer continue to breathe fire, and they actually just have to leave now. And they're both pretty upset at this point.
It's interesting, these timed out with the challenges, because I don't feel like I ever we never experienced that on the race. So I don't know if that's like an Australia rule in particular, or maybe it's just because it is more of like a COVID season, so they're trying to like really like pull in the reins a little bit. I don't know, but it would suck to time out, especially if you're on the brink of getting it.
Right. But I also at some point, because we know that you can like just leave and take a penalty, I would have left earlier.
That's a really good point.
I mean, she was not going to get it. She was a struggle bus. And so why not have left earlier knowing that you're going to have a penalty, but there's a ton of teams still struggling behind you?
I'm also curious. That's a really good point. I'm curious then, what is the penalty? Like, is 30 minutes the cap off penalty for anything on this race, or does it range? Because I know sometimes penalties are based on like a time average of some other teams, or like what the distance would have been. It just ultimately depends, and it's like a producer's call. But I feel like if 30 minutes is like the max of a penalty on Amazing Race Australia, you're right. Why wouldn't she have just said, I don't want to do it. Let's just go to the pit stop and we'll wait it out and hope that we still get in. Right.
But that can't be it, because so many teams would do that. You'd be like, I can't do this. I'm not getting this. Let's go. And then you're like, no, we don't have a race.
It's the purpose of a race.
Yeah. That wouldn't work. So who knows what the rule was here, but they ultimately do time out. And so they leave super, super defeated about that. So we see our last group here at the pit stop. We see our Kimberly Cousins coming in at 7th, Sepha and Jess coming in at 8th. Then Ronnie and Joe Bell, our dad and daughter, they come in 9th. with our dancers 10th. So these last two teams are the ones who have to stand there on the mat. And our Gold Coast girls have to do this salvage and sabotage thing. And they're pretty shook. Like, they're not happy about this at all. They're upset. They're already saying things like, it's not personal. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, you also have to think that it really does put the first place team in a disadvantage on like a social game, because now you're going to upset a team that you like didn't need to upset. You know?
Yeah. Just because you came in first.
That's really good to know about the penalties.
That is helpful.
Yeah, because it's like a disadvantage almost. Like, yeah, you got first, but now you have to screw over a team, even if you don't want to.
Right. But you know, if you're the team standing there, one of the last two teams, like, you can't take it personally. They have to do it as team one, and you came in second to last or last. Like, that's on you. So, I mean, if you do take that personally, it's a race. It's a game. Come on. And once again, we kind of see our girls take the same strategy that the Sikhs took of trying to take less of the pressure off of them and going in order. But I do think it was better this time, because if we look at the dad and daughter and our dancers, the dancers are a stronger team. So I give the stronger team the sabotage, and I salvage the other team. That's my strategy.
And it kind of worked in their favor that what is perceived to be the stronger team is the last place team. So you can play it off as, because you were last, we're going to sabotage you to be fair. But also there is a benefit to doing that.
Yeah. Worked out this time.
Yes.
I want to see someone.
I feel like Jordan said something in like his little confessional about, I don't know what the words he said, but he was like not happy about it. But I'm also like, it makes sense. Like, it made sense. Like, be upset about it, but don't like, it's like hate the game, not the player almost.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Like I'm annoyed that I have a sabotage.
Yeah.
Darn. I'm upset about that.
Don't be like annoyed at them in particular. Like, they had no choice.
Yeah. No, he said,
they gave it to.
Yeah. He said it was a cop out that they went that way, alluding to the fact that they should have gotten the salvage. But I'm like, no, you guys should have the sabotage, hands down, with these two teams. Yeah. So, yeah, of course, they're going to be upset about a sabotage. But you know what? I don't think the sabotage is that bad. So let's move on to episode 6, where we are going to the Great Barrier Reef. Y'all, this is a place that everybody wants to go, right? It's on my list.
Yes.
This is one of the wonders of the world. This is amazing. I love it. The sabotage is to wear a snorkel mask. This is not as hard as one person having to talk.
I was going to say, it was a complete different. I didn't like the sabotage or the advantage.
No.
I didn't like it this leg.
No.
I didn't think it really made sense, especially when they got to that detour and they were like, they can't wear it because it scares the turtles. I'm like, well, then it defeats the purpose of them having it in the first place. Like, it didn't seem very thought out.
Yeah. I was like, oh, they're going to get penalized for this later.
I almost would have just kept the penalty of your teammate can't talk. I think that's brilliant. I think that's challenging. It's fair across the board. For any time someone gets sabotaged, you already know what to expect. That should have just been the staple sabotage, in my opinion.
I agree. It felt like the first salvage and sabotage, the producers really worked it out and they were like, this is great game stuff. And then the next one, they were like, oh, we're too busy. We can't figure this one out. Just throw a couple things together. And this is what they came up with. And it's like, whoa, these are totally different. And no, the sabotage didn't sabotage them at all. And the salvage, I actually felt was a sabotage. This island guide.
Yeah, I feel like having an extension of your team that's someone you're not comfortable with, someone you don't really know, if you want to be in a hurry and they're not keeping up with you, like, in a way, I think it's more of a disadvantage. And I didn't like it. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, I agree. I was like, you're like hosting a party. Like you're the host. You're like, okay, guide. So, how do you feel about turtles? Like there was just too much energy put into
They
this
should have
third
had like
wheel.
a smartphone with like a map, and they could easily like
Mhm.
have things accessible in the palm of their hand, so they could do it at their pace. They could do it
Yeah.
at their leisure. They didn't have to worry about this third person. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we are in agreement about this. So we're gonna have two fairies taking us over to these challenges. There's 5 teams on the first ferry, and that is the Sikhs, the Cowboys, Chris and Alicia, Holly and Delore, and the Kimberly cousins. I have a question. Did I miss? Because those are not the first 5 teams from the pit stop. Was there a run to a car or something that I
In
missed
this
here? Because
episode,
yeah, because it
not
would
that I
have
remember.
been
I
instead
remember that.
of
Wasn't that the episode 6?
this is episode 6. And it would have been the siblings, Sky Blue
Yeah,
and
I'm trying to look
Jake,
on the.
instead of the Kimberly cousins. All of a sudden, I saw the Kimberly cousins getting on the ferry one, and I was like, wait, I don't understand what happened. So there had to have been some switcheroo here.
Yeah, I'm looking under episode 6, and I don't see anything.
Yeah. I don't know how it been. Yeah. Amanda and Ashley, they're not there. I'm counting. So then 2 through 6 is who should be on this ferry. But the Kimberly cousins came in 7th, I believe. So anyway, these are our teams on ferry 1, and they have to choose restoration or rehabilitation. We are going to go down into the water, into the ocean, and restore coral reefs, or just count them, or you're going to rehab some turtle stuff over at the turtle thing. And basically, people are pretty darn smart and go, let's do the turtles here. The Cowboys are the only ones who very bravely think that the reef is the way to go. Everyone else is over there with the turtles. Delore is complaining. People are telling him, you have the same water pressure as the rest of us. We're all just as wet as you are, Delore. And we haven't heard Holly complain once.
She really is a trooper.
She really is a trooper. So many props to Holly. Like, again, that girl's working hard for that ring and that royal title that she's going to get, whatever that may be. But the Cowboys, they get to this thing. And James, how are you underwater? Because this is not, nope.
So Will and I actually, this is like one of the detours we've actually debated on, because I think you could go, it's like 50, like either way, like you went, I feel like there was pros and cons to what you chose. I think what Will and I ultimately decided we would have done would have been this scuba one. Only because like we've been to the Philippines and we did this like scuba helmet where we got to walk on the ocean floor and got to wear it. So we're comfortable with what that feels like just because of our prior experience. And all you have to do is count the coral. So I feel like with 2 brains and 2 sets of eyes, like looking, one of you is bound to count correctly. Or if you pull together and you're off, you're going to be like, okay, we're off by 1 or 2. Let's just throw a guess out there. I think we would have done it. I think we would have done this one.
I mean, if you have no problem being under the ocean in a mask thing, then yeah, this is not that hard of a challenge. I can't go in the ocean. I have full-on panic attacks. I am the Cowboys. Like he was down there, I mean, the fact that he lasted 5 minutes was so impressive. And when he started having that panic attack, I couldn't even watch. That is my nightmare. Like I get short of breath just watching him be like, I gotta go up. And I'm like, hit him up.
It's a very uncomfortable feeling. And it is like a mind over matter thing. Like you can't let your mind play tricks on you. And it's uncomfortable. Like it doesn't feel natural. I mean, like we're breathing underwater. So it's just like, it's weird.
Yeah. So unfortunately the Cowboys, they have to come up and they decide we've got to change detours. Like the thought of going back down there was just not going to work. for him. But this is when our Fairy 2 arrives. And so everyone on Fairy 2 wants to do the turtle thing. So they're running there, and we actually get to a point where the detour is full. Joe Bell and Ronnie get there first after the full sign, and they just stand there and decide that they'll wait and hang out with their guide, asking what I think are just the silliest questions about turtles, with this poor guy who's like, yeah, I'm an expert on everything. Sure.
Yeah.
I was shocked that anyone would wait for anything. Would you ever stand there and wait?
No, but if they already knew that like being in the water is not their strong suit, then I think that they probably made the right choice for them as a team. And there is, if you're smart about like your downtime, there is a little bit of a perk because now you're watching the other teams. It kind of goes back to when they had to put that tire together and like 3 episodes ago. And you had a departure time of when you could start the challenge. Well, all the teams that got to watch kind of already knew where teams struggled and where teams excelled. And I feel like that's kind of similar with this one, where if you're watching teams and like really taking in your surroundings, you can see what's working and what's not working when doing this task.
Yeah, and I think that's accurate with that filter cleaning system. They could really see what was working and what wasn't. And they're the first team waiting. So if you're the first team waiting, fine, I get it. Yeah. You're not going to go do the other one. That makes sense. But then like Sepha and Jess, they arrive, and you know, are you really going to be the second team to wait? No, it's a little tougher. So they do decide to go to the next one, to the restoration. The dancers decide to wait in line, and then the cowboys show up, and they sure as heck ain't going back to the ocean. So they got no choice but to wait in line at this point.
Yeah, and it's always a gamble when you switch a detour. Like not everyone can be like Hung and Chi, where you're just a stealthy assassin and can be like, we're going to switch a detour. Why the hell not? And then excel.
Yeah. Yeah. No. But I get it if you just legitimately are having a panic attack. So at the Reef, though, Jess, I mean, she too is not keen on this, and she's starting to worry about it on the boat, be concerned, but she is doing that great job of like kind of what you said, like mind over matter. Like you just got to get your head there, tell yourself you're going to do it because you're on a race and you need to do it.
Yeah.
So she does panic a little bit, but she gets in that thing. She misses some numbers a little bit here and there, but ultimately gets the clue, and boom, they're up out of the water, and they're so excited, and they should be. That was amazing.
Like Steph like turned around and Jess already had the clue. Like it was already like, oh my god, okay.
You're right. Super, super fun. Turtles, Holly and Delore seem to be the only one struggling. Everyone else is getting it. Moving on. Now we're feeding. The Sikhs are out first. The Joe Bell and Ronnie, they get to go in at this point. And now our first group is going to start moving on to route info, which we're going to Green Island. We're going to collect some bottles. We're going to go on a treasure hunt, basically. But you have to wait to fill up a boat. So we're kind of equalizing a little bit.
That's true. It's not like you get to the board and go when a ferry's available to you. But I love the treasure hunt.
Right. Oh, I loved it too. It was so fun. I mean, a treasure hunt is fun. Like Sky Blue had the attitude I would have of like, I love a treasure hunt. Let's go looking. Somewhere under a bridge, somewhere in the water, somewhere on land. Like that's so much fun.
I will say, I think it would have been fun to see teams have different maps in some capacity. Just because the first thing I said to Will was, why wouldn't you just automatically work with the teams you're with to find, like, everyone has the same spots to go. I mean, I hate that because everyone hated the Mind 5 mentality of like, let's maintain our lead. But I mean, like, that's sometimes what you got to do. And like you saw like Sky Blue and Jake do that with the Super Seeks, help them out. And they were kind of always running together. It might have been nice to see them all have different maps where they couldn't rely on each other. But I also get as a racer that, hey, you're going to use whatever advantage you can.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If you do have the same maps. Yeah. I'm always like, go, don't let them see where you have it. Go run. Like, I don't know which is better, to like work with other people or to like sneak by, get it without anyone else knowing. And then you might still be looking. I don't know. Who's to say? But on our boat one, because the Sikhs do finish first, but they're standing there and waiting. And we fill up with Sky Blue and Jake, Kimberly Cousins, Chris and Alicia, and Sepha and Jess. So Sky Blue and Jake and Sepha and Jess, this is actually a move up. They were on the second group earlier, but now they are going to be on this first boat for this challenge. So that's good for them. That's awesome. And this is when Jess finds out that they're the only team to do that underwater challenge, and they are stoked. That was adorable. Back at the Turtles, the dancers and the cowboys finally get in and then Holly and Delore, they are leaving. And Sky Blue, I just love her treasure hunting vibe on the island. She was so fun to watch.
Yes, loving it. I will say, I mean, I saw it in the chat. Someone said, maybe it was Ames, Sky Blue helping the Sikhs get their bottle.
Yes.
A little too eager with your treasure hunt.
I mean, when you're in water, like, they really were struggling. I think I would have a hard time leaving people just struggling out in the ocean.
True.
I'm worried about your safety, you know.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think, again, the irony of the parallels of season 32 and Amazing Race is that people were so upset that Hung stopped her race to give the word sauerkraut to teams she was aligned with. I think it's almost comparable. Sky Blue and Jake were already swimming back to the beach, like continuing their race, and they physically turned around to help out another team, not just by like going to give them their floaty and say, come here, let's swim together. No, it was, I'm going to go down and get the bottle for you. Like, they did the task. Part of the challenge for another team. Like,
that's huge.
That's totally different than just giving an answer sauerkraut. Like, I feel like you physically did the challenge.
Right. No, I agree. I would have a very hard time doing someone else's work for them. Yeah. The only part that I'm partially like, oh God, with water, if you're just not good at water, I'm just like, here's your bottle, get the heck on dry land. Like the sauerkraut challenge, I'm like, you hang up there all night long. I'm leaving with my word sauerkraut. Good luck to you. Not worried about your safety.
I don't know, but here's the thing. One thing I loved about our cast, which I don't think really translated, except you only saw the alliance, every team was so generous and helpful with each other. Some teams were more willing to divulge information whenever they felt like it, while others would hold that card close, like Will and I would hold information close until you were willing to share it so you could maintain your lead. But in this situation, it's just, I don't know. It just like, I don't think I could have physically done a task for someone. I just don't think I could have done that.
No, there's no way you could have, James. You're a super fan. No way. No way.
Maybe I'll get shot for saying this and debating it. It really irked me. I mean, I get it. I do love camaraderie. I get it. I do understand that. But like this team who has gotten first 2 legs in a row, I don't know.
I'm glad to hear you say this because you are such a fan of like working together. So
I get when you have to, but when you
I'm glad there's a line.
When you're doing the challenge for another team, it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. The chat is asking how it went down. I believe, if I remember correctly, the Sikhs called out. They were like, hey, Sky Blue.
Girl, you're kind of drifting.
Yeah. And she was like, do you want me just to get it for you? So it was both. Like they called out, but she also offered.
Yeah.
So it was a little mix of both. Like maybe she could have, if she really wanted to swim back, maybe she could just be like, I'm going to pull your raft over. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, we're back on land
The
now.
waves were so strong. The boats around
so
us. I didn't hear you. I didn't
a lot
hear you
happening.
in your screams. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, were you calling us? Okay. But I mean, like, if you are gonna go back, you could have just like tugged them with you and been like, okay, now you're above it. Now dive down. Now you're above it. Like that would be like helping a little. Still, just go to land. We agree. Go to land.
Mhm.
We can't hear you. But Sky Blue and Jake are just much more nice, kind. I don't know. Forgot what they were racing. Boat 2 is arriving. Holly, Delore, Cowboys, Dancers, Ronnie and Joe Bell. So we are all running around collecting bottles here. This inflatable raft is called a Lilo.
Yeah, I didn't. Lilo.
Lilo. We're getting on a Lilo and we're going out. That's a new term for me. I'm learning so many terms on this show.
A Lilo. Here we go. I just Googled. And it came up amazing Australia language, Aussie lingo. And it says a Lilo is, oh, where did it go? A Lilo is kind of like an air mattress.
Oh. It looked like a raft. Like
it looks like a floaty.
A floaty. Yeah, we would call it a floaty. When you want to like sunbathe, you lay on this floaty. And no one really like got their body up on it. They were just like hands on it. And I feel like some of these people who were unstable could have gotten their bodies up there a little bit more, but maybe I'm misreading the situation. But Sepha is killing this challenge overall. Like he is finding bottles like nobody's business. I say put him on Survivor. He can find idols incredibly.
So true.
I'd like to see it. And then we see the continuation of Sky Blue and Jake working with the Sikhs. They are like, well, if we've already done half your work for you, why don't we continue to work together?
Which, again, I get that. I get let's follow each other. Let's work together. Let's maintain a lead. Totally makes sense. It happens.
And then we legitimately get a foot race to the pit stop this time. We go to our pit stop, and in first place are our adorable siblings, Sky Blue and Jake. They win a trip to Disneyland.
You know, and maybe that's their good karma. You know, like they did a good deed. They helped out another team, and they ultimately succeeded. So that's good karma.
It is. I mean, I have to say, like in this, I was like, if they don't, you know, if the Sikhs beat them to the mat.
Yep.
You're just like, oh, that's not the way that's supposed to go. But no, they win it. So that is hopefully their good karma. They're coming to our area, James. Disneyland is just down the street from where James and I live. Come on over. Hang out with us. Super just love their cute, positive, supportive vibe. For sure. And then Sepha and Jess actually come in second. And they pass the Sikhs at this point because they're just ballers at this. Okay, this is when I made a note that this tour guide is slowing Ronnie and Joe Bell down, is how I feel at this point.
An advantage, yep.
Yeah, not an advantage at all. Third to the pit stop are the Sikhs. Fourth are our Kimberly cousins. I was like, this is actually a pretty good step up for them. Like, they're moving up the list here. And then fifth is Chris and Alicia.
Again,
great.
They're finding their momentum.
Yep. Little by little, moving up spots. Okay, this moment when Ronnie is struggling with the Lilo and the waves, this was hard to watch.
It was really,
scary.
It was bummer.
It was super scary. That's when I was like, get on the raft, Ronnie, get up on it. Why are you just like not even like barely holding on to it? But like he's obviously
I think visually, like I get the Lilos. I get that it's funny to watch. Like this pink inflatable raft, like you're running out there like Baywatch and like going out into the water with it. But I feel like they should have had life vests.
Well, that would have been then
on
I mean, yeah,
on top of the Lilo.
And you'd have to take it off though to like deep dive down. But you could at least have it for part of this. Yeah. I mean, I guess because some of these people are just not swimmers, and this is really scary to watch people just not able, like Ronnie's just like going under the water. And I'm like, oh my gosh, get him safe. And of course, Joe Bell is going to freak out. If I'm freaking out, she's going to freak out. That's her dad. Yeah. And a boat literally has to come over and rescue him at this point. So they have to say, we'll take a penalty. We can't do this challenge. And, you know, we've seen them have ups and downs. It's so interesting to see them want something, but then if you know, he's struggling and she's like, no, we'll take the penalty. Like, it's fine. Like, they will always sort of step back for the other person if that's needed. Like, they just have such a lovely relationship.
Yeah.
It seemed like to me. These two, in my notes, I wrote these two.
It was a tearjerker.
Yeah, it was. It's real hard to watch. Pit stop, we have our 6th place, our Brendan and Jackson, our Cowboys, coming in 6th this time. They're kind of all over the map with their finishes.
They are. And I'm curious to know how much longer they will ultimately last.
Yeah. Okay, so we're down to a few teams here. Our dancers, Holly and Delore, and Joe Bell and Ronnie. And Jordan is the one to find this last bottle. And then he just says to everybody, it's over here. No. No, thank you. No. This could literally be a foot race to the end.
You got to know when to help and when not to.
Yeah.
Like,
gotta know when to hold them.
On a human level, you want to, because it seems natural.
Yeah.
But also, like, do it first, and then if you can, help. Like, you gotta know when to divulge info.
When you are one of the last 3 teams and you just need to get to that pit stop, you just cannot do that. This was just really bad timing. And she said, she's like, no, we are racing. Don't do that. And he's kind of like, oh, I feel bad or whatever. She's like, we are in a race. Stop it. So good that they had that conversation. Because Holly and Delore, Jabel and Ronnie, they do listen, they do get the bottle. But comes down to it, the dancers do arrive to the pit stop 7th. And then the one time this tour guide comes in handy, he knows where to go. So Ronnie and Joe Bell actually are heading in the right direction while Holly and Delore wander off a little bit, not in the right direction. I was like, finally. But then...
But just Holly like knowing what awaited them at the pit stop with that penalty.
Yeah. Wasn't going to make a difference.
No.
But Holly and Delore outrun them anyway. They pass them on the beach. And Holly and Delore arrive 8th on the mat. And 9th place and eliminated are our adorable dad and daughter, Joe Bell and Ronnie.
And I loved what she said.
Loved.
Like, I didn't like the outcome, obviously, because I adore like the parent-child teams. I loved what she had to say. I thought it was very beautiful. And I did tweet her last night. I was like, you know, from one fan to another, I'm just so glad you like got to experience the race.
Yes.
Like, how cool, especially with your dad, who you always dreamed of doing it with. Like, how special.
Yes, agreed. Yes. She talked about that she was fulfilling a childhood dream being on this race, but that she gets to go home to her adult dream. And I was like, oh my God, she's got a baby and she's got a family. Yes. Like, what a wonderful way to sum it up. It was so beautiful. Look, they're not one of the strongest teams. Like, they're just not. They're not in shape. He's, you know, older. So the fact that they got to race it all is absolutely what's so exciting. Thank you, Busy, for the super chat.
And they did so well for, you know, how long they did last. Like, they were,
oh my gosh, yeah,
like a little up and down with their placements, but like they were hanging in there.
Yeah, exactly. Like they got a little lucky there, here and there. And then they did get to succeed at a few things. So that's great. It wasn't all struggle. So yeah, super, super sad to see them go. I got choked up a few times this week. These were slightly emotional. Tugging at my heart a little bit.
We love all the feels that come with the race. I mean, that's really what draws me to the show, and it has for so long, is just you can relate to so many teams in these situations. So when they are sad or when they're frustrated, like you get it. Like you can feel it. And especially with a team like Joe Bell and Ronnie, who wanted to be there and loved the experience as much as they did, and being able to achieve a dream, like it added that a little bit of an extra heartstring pull.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Coming up, we got gators, we got race cars, and we got a twist.
I'm excited. I love a good twist. I'm hoping it's the T-junction twist because we haven't seen it yet, and I'm still curious to know how that plays out. But yeah, the next week's episode looks good.
And our geography lesson is that we're leaving Queensland and we're headed to the Northern Territories.
Learn something new every day.
Good to know, because otherwise we have no idea. Okay, Northern Territory crocodiles. Hey, I grew up in Florida. I grew up around crocodiles. Is also land of the crocodiles. So
I also loved how they were promoting it. Crocodile Sunday.
Oh. I have swum with the gators. Oh, no, but yeah, they're crocodiles, not gators. But you know, it's the same. It's similar, not the same thing. Similar.
Prehistoric creatures. No, thank you.
Yeah. They'll outlive all of us, those things. Well, this was, I thought, a really, really fun week. I'm looking forward to next week's. It's going to be Sunday through Tuesday again, the episodes. And James and I will be back next Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. That is our new time for Thursdays. So I hope you guys can continue to join us. Thank you to everyone who's here with us live in the chat. You guys are giving us info, making us laugh. We appreciate it so much. And those of you who are not live with us, tell us how you feel.
Yes.
Who are you loving? Yes. We want to know your opinions. We want to know who you're loving, who you're sad has left us. Want to know all of your feelings about that. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.